Hello there. Today I want to take a look at a Nebbiolo, in this occasion from the Langhe region. This is Cantina Ratti's Ochetti 2021. Now, Cantina was founded by Renato Ratti, who's one of the great characters of modern Barolo. He came from a family that were primarily doctors and veterinarians, but in the early 60s he chose to train as an oenologist in Alba, and following his studies he travelled to Burgundy, to Bordeaux, worked for a while in Brazil producing vermouths and sparkling wines. But in 1965 he returned to the Barolo region and started producing single vineyard Barolos, and his Marcenasco is reputed to be one of the first of these wines. Other things that Renato was responsible for include controlling the fermentation temperatures so that the wines didn't get too hot during fermentation and the yeasts would become shocked, and that would produce off flavours and would result in the fermentation going on much longer. He also reduced the amount of time that the wine spent macerating. So these were some quite big changes. In 1973, as a leading member of the Consorzio, he was very much responsible for the Albiza bottle with the branding on it that is now common in the area. So he really was a leading light of this region. Unfortunately, at the age of just 55, he passed away, and his son Pietro had to take over the estate at quite a young age. But Pietro has stayed true to this idea of making single vineyard wines. So although this is not a Barolo, this is a Nebbiolo, so the same grape variety. The Ochetti vineyard is in the Roro Hills, on the left of the Tanaro River, and this is an area where there's primarily sandy soil. There are stratified subsoils with gravels, and so you've got free draining soils primarily. Although the Cantina's website does suggest that this is no longer a single vineyard wine, although they take fruit from the Ochetti vineyard, they say that a portion of the fruit comes from the Langhe Hills. So perhaps there has been a slight change in approach there. As I say, the wine's Nebbiolo, it's 100% Nebbiolo. Formerly this was labelled as a Nebbiolo de Alba. I should perhaps say the label here shows a soldier. The uniform he's wearing is that of the Piedmontese regiment that served with distinction during the Italian Revolution during the 18th century. The fruit's entirely hand-picked, and this would have happened in the first half normally of October, maybe going up until about the 20th or so, because Nebbiolo can be quite a late ripening variety. The fruit's destemmed, pressed, and ferments in stainless steel tanks. These have temperature control, as I say, to stop the fermentation temperatures getting up too high and stunning the yeast and causing the fermentation to abate. Skin contact is kept to just 10 days. And malolactic conversion takes place in the tanks. Once that's completed, the wines run off into large old French oak cooperage, and it ages there for between 8 and 12 months. The 2021 growing season started out with a mild winter, but there was sufficient snow in the later part of the winter to provide a good reserve of water in the soils for the plant. There were some localised frosts in mid-April, and this cut yields back primarily. Spring and summer largely saw beautiful weather, although again in the summer there were some flash storms in June and July. The harvest saw good weather, at which times there were sort of optimal day-night temperatures, and that meant that the grapes were able to ripen but yet maintain a balance, so that they had good phenolic ripeness and flavour ripeness, but also retain their acidity well without alcohols getting too high. So let's see what we make of the wine, shall we? Looking at it, instantly the idea that this is Nebbiolo comes to mind. The colour seems quite dark. It's a dark ruby red, however it's not very deep at all. That's at best medium intensity, and barely even that. Swirling it, the wine has 14% alcohol, and it's clinging in some quite large tears on the side of the glass as I swirl it. The aromas are quite classic for Barolo. They're a little strained, but there is a sort of a lifted floral note. People say tar and roses. I'd actually say on this occasion maybe peonies. Some sort of very delicate floral aromas there, followed by an earthy and in fact yes, tarry note. Very classic. So that's for taste. palate, you've got really good acidity, very fine tannins. Behind those, there's a delicate red fruit. It's a red, soft fruit note. It's almost raspberry, almost with sort of hints of, quite acidic red fruit. Makes me think of rhubarb, for instance. The tannins are fine and gripping. The wine is medium to full-bodied. The alcohol, actually, for its 14%, is still sitting behind the wine structure. The wine has a good drying structure. There are bitter notes to that, almost make you think of bitter licorice. Coming through on the finish, there's a little bit of red fruit, but it's got earthy notes. There are slight sort of hints of development, forest floor, sort of dried leaf notes, but they're quite restrained. I mean, this is only a 2021 wine, so it's relatively young still. The wine is very classic for a Nebbiolo, but at the same time, I think it's likely to age much more quickly than a Barolo from this vintage. I think if you give this 3 or 4 years, it will start to show a lot more perfume and delicate red fruit on the finish. Currently, the tannins are closing it up quite a bit. Clearly, it's a wine that could be aged for 10, probably 15 years, and as such, actually probably offers, some good value in terms of that you're buying a wine from a quality producer, getting the beautiful structure and elegance. It's a very well-made wine, although clearly this isn't going to rival top-class crus of Barolo. I think this would sit very well alongside a lot of entry-level Barolo and probably have more character than most of them. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this of interest. If you've enjoyed the video, do please be sure to like it. Do consider sharing it with any of your friends you think might be interested. It would be great if you'd consider signing up and following us on YouTube. We'd love to have your support. Any comments you have, any feedback, please leave that in the box below. We'd love to hear what you think about the wines, the tastings we're doing, or anything else related to that. Most importantly, however, do please try and make the time to come and join us for another tasting in the very near future, won't you? Thanks again. Bye for now.